All right, hello and welcome to this live online class today. My name is Erin Cox. I am a business consultant, an author, and a speaker, and I've had the honor of working with this amazing woman, Ashley, and I'm going to let you tell her a little more about herself, but she is a registered holistic nutritionist, and she is your meal plan mediator. What Ashley does is uses her experience and her expertise to create these really amazing meal plans for women, and she coaches them on how to eat in a way that makes them feel amazing. Ashley's also a mother, so she understands the challenges that the craziness of motherhood can bring. And Ashley, I would love for you to tell a little bit more about yourself, because most of the people listening into this call, they might know me, they've been on my mailing list for a while, but they might not know about you. So can you give us a little, quick and dirty explanation of who you are? She's such an amazing woman, you guys. I'm so excited to introduce you all to her.
Thank you, and thank you, Erin, for inviting me today and sharing me with your wonderful list, because I know that there's lots of mamas that I can learn from, and hopefully you'll learn from me today in the call. So I'm Ashley Srokosz, registered holistic nutritionist, meal planning mediator, founder of lovewhatyoueat.ca, and newly founder of the 30-Day Calm Mom Challenge and Mama Mojo. So lots of different things going on. My background actually is in geophysics.
Which I love. You're a technical girl.
Yeah, so a crazy Bachelor of Science degree. And, I had no want to be a nutritionist until I started getting some panic attacks and started getting anxiety and severe digestive issues and cystic acne at the age of 23, which was wonderful.
Just out of the blue, you'd never had acne before, and all of a sudden you developed cystic acne.
I had breakouts, but these were deep welts that they wouldn't go away. They wouldn't come to the surface. They would last for 3 weeks at a time, and I was like, what is going on? I've got little zits, but not like this. It was just out of the blue, really strange. So I decided to give up a full PhD scholarship to study in the States at Arizona State University. And I started meeting with my doctors and trying to figure out what was going on. And after a while of being told, are you sure it's not all in your head? Which made me want to slap my doctor, because I'd known him my whole life. And he knew that, I didn't really have a history of all of this stuff. And so why was it happening out of the blue? And finally, I just had this. I was driving down the street one day and saw a sign that said naturopath accepting clients, and I had no idea what that meant. I had no idea what a naturopath was, but I was like, well, no one else is helping me, so I'm going to go and see this girl. And shortly after was diagnosed with food allergies with a blood test. So I was allergic to wheat and gluten, dairy, eggs, chicken, turkey, bananas, blueberries, some other random things like radishes, which I didn't really eat, so that was a big deal. But the rest were kind of a big deal. I had to teach myself how to eat again. And then I started becoming passionate about wanting to teach other people, maybe going through a similar time in their life, especially with food allergies, or maybe they're having health issues where they should eat a certain way. Because there's a lot of information out there what you should do, but none about how to actually do it. Where do you get the food? Where are the recipes? What are the good recipes? What are the not good recipes? Because I've wasted a lot of time and money on those.
We all have.
Yeah, especially being gluten-free, egg-free, and dairy-free. I say gluten-free is very easy. Who can't go gluten-free nowadays? But it's all three put together. So then I decided to go back to school at the Canadian School of Natural Nutrition, and I graduated a year and a half later with my degree and opened up my own shop. So,
then fast forward a few years, I know then you became a mother, and I've worked with Ashley now for over a year, and I've gotten to know her incredible story. When the first time she told me the story, I remember just tears welling up in my eyes, because it's such a traumatic and powerful one. And as a mother of three, I couldn't even imagine what Ashley had gone through. And any of you out there, I know that a lot of women on my list are mothers, so this is going to resonate really strongly with them. So can you tell the story about Alex and all that you went through when Alex was born?
All right. So, got pregnant, figured, hey, I'm a holistic nutritionist. We're going to do it all natural and we're going to have a home birth and blah, 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 plans that go out the window. So Alex was born. He's coming up. He's going to be 2 on Monday. So he is October the 6th, 2012, he was born by emergency C-section. He was rushed to a hospital an hour and a half away from me, and I had to stay in our hometown because I'd had a C-section and they didn't have any beds for me there. The doctor said, we see his abdomen was all distended and bruised, and they didn't have the technology in our hometown to be able to see what the issue was. So that's why he was taken down. Immediately he's going into surgery. We don't know what we're going to find. We have to open him up. And my husband, thankfully, went down with Alex. I stayed in Chatham with the support of my mom and my doula, and who was a longtime friend, and other friends. So they came out of the surgery, and we had a conference call. So, because I wasn't there, so conference call with the surgeon and her team. And they said, when we opened him up, we found that 2/3 of his small intestine was dead. The tissue was dead inside of him. We had to remove it. Right now, his small and large intestine we've left unattached. He has what's called an ileostomy bag, which is similar to a colostomy bag. And the next 48 hours are critical. It's going to be up to him with how it goes. So that was not good. They were like, start pumping right away if you can. Let's get you down here whenever we'll try to get a bed for you. Get down here as quick as possible. So when I finally did go and meet him, he was in the critical care unit. He had his whole pod. He had a nurse to himself. My husband had been sending me pictures and videos along the way, which, as you could imagine, were not the best. Made me cry. You see your newborn child hooked up to a ventilator with tubes everywhere.
And the fact that you couldn't be there, like, to me, that's traumatizing. You want nothing more than just to hold that newborn baby. And the fact that he was whisked away, that must have been just I can't imagine.
Yeah. I remember sending, and this is I'll tear up, and I still see it in the pictures and I tear up. I sent when he was transferred by ambulance, and I sent them with the t-shirt that I was wearing the day that I went in for labor, because I said, just put it beside him, because I knew that babies can smell, and I said maybe it will comfort him. So even when I got up there, up until the day that he was transferred up to the 6th floor where he spent the next 4 months, he had my t-shirt with him. So I was there with him, but
yes.
So look, we're like 5 minutes in and we're crying already.
Well, this is kind of how I roll.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, so, a couple more surgeries, 4.5 months in the hospital. But
4.5 months. 4.5 months.
Yeah, and not in our hometown. So Ronald McDonald House. If you've never had anyone have an experience with it, it was amazing. We couldn't have done it without them. Yeah, so we brought him home when he was not really a newborn, but he was newborn to us. He was new in our house. He still had a colostomy bag at that point, which was reversed at 7 months. So today he is a amazing 2-year-old that never sits down. You would never know anything ever went wrong.
No, you wouldn't.
You see his scars. People, new daycare providers will lift up his shirt and say, "Oh, what's that? Like, that's not normal." And we're like, "Oh, you don't know the story of Alex." And then we share the story.
Well, so, this must have been traumatizing for any new parent. For any parent in general, absolutely traumatizing. And do you mind sharing what this did to you and to your body?
Well, I didn't, I was in survival mode for a long time. I didn't fall apart until he was about a year and 3 months old. It was really, we had a long winter here, so it was kind of through the winter where, you can't really leave the house a lot.
Right.
You have a 1-year-old. I didn't have a lot of, I didn't know where to go. I wasn't interested in doing mom classes. I was just like, I'm not one of those moms. I'm just not, no offense, but I'm just not interested in that. So I knew that my anxiety was getting worse. I had, experience with that ever since my food allergy started. Was only on medication for a very short period of time when it first started back in 2006. So this whole time, you have anxiety every now and then, but it was never something that was overwhelming or life-altering or life-threatening or anything. But slowly, my mom and my husband could see me going into this black hole where I didn't want to leave the house. I couldn't get off the couch. I didn't want to do anything. I had no interest. I didn't want to read magazines. I didn't want to read books. I was just so like physically and mentally exhausted. And I didn't feel like it was the trauma part of it, because I kind of felt like, okay, well, he's better now. Like, he's better. I should be able, like, why am I not like, he's fine. Like, look at him, he's fine. So it took going to a counselor, and finally agreed to go to a counselor, finally agreed to go on medication, which, you know, that was the hardest part of all for me to get to, because me being a holistic nutritionist, I really want to try things naturally. And I had started seeing a naturopath again. We had done some testing on my adrenal glands, which make your stress hormones, which obviously, you know, would be tested during that time. But I've known for years, like probably since before my food allergy started, that I've had issues with my adrenals. Like, once I learned in nutrition school what they were, I'm like, oh my God, that's me. And I just never dealt with it. It was always, oh, let's work on the business, let's get pregnant. There was always something else to deal with, and I never actually dealt with it. So the naturopath put me on some things, but it never really, like, I never had like any suicidal thoughts or any thoughts of actually hurting myself. Mm-hmm. But once I went to the counselor and started telling her, like, you know, there have been times where I've said to my husband, like, maybe your life would be less stressful without me in it. And not ever thinking I want to hurt myself or not be alive. It's always like, would I ever have the guts and I truly feel like I need to go away and just take care of like, I literally felt like I was in survival mode. I wanted to be like a bear and go in a cave for like a year and just like take care of myself. And that's what I meant by that. But the counselor was like, you know, that technically those are passive suicidal thoughts. And that never occurred to me before. And at the time I was like, no, I didn't think of them that way. But now I'm able to see like how far gone I was. And it all kind of culminated. I didn't want to admit it because I was very afraid that, you know, maybe they would take Alex away from me. Maybe that someone would see me as an unfit mother. And by all means, I wasn't. I was still taking care of him, but it was like I was a ghost of myself taking care of him. Right. And I completely lost myself, like completely. Yeah.
And I don't think you're the only woman that's had, I mean, yours was sort of on the extreme end of that. But, you know, when I wrote my book, One Hot Mama, it was because I had, you know, I'd worked as a professional for many years. And then all of a sudden I had this baby, and I felt similar in this respect. Like, I felt like I'd lost myself. Like, where's that woman who used to get dressed up in suits and do powerful things? And I wasn't even sure if I wanted to do that anymore. You know,
yeah, that's the hardest part.
I was so conflicted.
Yeah, you're like, I don't want to be that person, right, but I don't want to be where I am right now. Like, you don't know where you want to be. You just don't know.
So, you know, it sounds like you had the benefit of having Western medicine and then also sort of the Eastern approach of managing it through, you know, what you're putting in your body and how you manage your stress. So I want to understand like how nutrition played into that. So after you got kind of the worst of it under control, it sounds like you had an amazing, you know, support system to help you like get to that point. But like I was saying, I think all women have a variation of that at some point. And I also think all women have a variation of not feeling like they have any energy, like feeling that, especially when you've got that newborn baby, especially when you have more kids, like it just feels like there's somebody that always needs you and has your attention. And sometimes, you know, I know a lot of women, they feed their kids all this organic, fabulous food, but when it comes to who's going to sacrifice, it's going to be them. Like they put everything into everybody else. And at the end of the day, they sacrifice because, you know, it's the easier thing to do.
It's in our nature. It's
in our nature. Yes.
We want to give everything. And maybe it's partly how we've been brought up. A lot of us have mothers that were of that generation where
absolutely
you are, you know, for lack of a better word, you become a martyr. You give so much of yourself and then it's, oh, but look at me, look what I gave. And it's not. That's not good. Like, it's not, it just ends up hurting us physically. And so me being a nutritionist, it was always a non-negotiable that my nutrition would be the best it could be. But then it was like figuring out like, okay, how do I fit this in? Like, I want so desperately to cook right now, but it'd always be either two things. Either Alex is like freaking out or I'm taking care of him, or number two, I'm just so bone tired that I like can't. So I kind of, for me, and knowing that my gluten is a trigger for my anxiety and not having gut health. So I know that whenever my gut isn't happy, I can't focus on anything else. Like for me, when I'm having things that are maybe like, I know for me, cheese is still it's still touchy with me. So some days it's okay, some days it's not. And there'd be days where I'm like, I don't even know why I want cheese. I just want cheese. And then I would eat it. And then the next 4 hours, I'm in like such like digestive distress with cramping and bloating that it was kind of like I was taking care of Alex, but there's no room in your mind like that when your body is in distress to be like, let's focus on creating calm. Let's look to the future. Let's, plan our week to be stress-free. Like there's no room for that when your body is just like so wrecked.
When you don't feel good. Well, can you explain that? I mean, it sounds like you understand how hormones affect our body and how our actual organs react to the way we eat. Because I don't think women make the link between anxiety and diet.
No.
They know that if they eat some good food, they'll probably have more energy, but I don't think they realize just how closely those things are linked. So, can you explain a little more about the hormones and how the hormones are affected by digestion and liver and all those things? Because those are the things I think that most of us don't understand. Even those, I have a degree in biology and chemistry, and I still don't understand exactly.
And there's a lot of doctors that sometimes don't. Not that they don't understand, they just don't think of it as a whole body thing. They have they have their areas of specialty, and it's like, a digestive specialist thinks it's only digestion, and a blood specialist thinks it's issues in the blood or whatever. So for me, it all started with the adrenal glands. So the adrenal glands sit right on top of your kidneys. They're like almond shaped, they're tiny, and they control so much in our bodies. So they make our stress hormones. So our cortisol, our adrenaline, along with a few others. But what happens is stress turns on those stress hormones, and your adrenals start kicking out these stress hormones. Traditionally, like 10,000 years ago, if you had a tiger chasing you, that would be a good thing because it turns on the fight or flight. It helps you to survive. But unfortunately, in our society now, we have so much just chronic stress. It's not like, oh my God, I'm going to die right now. But it's all of those little like, oh, I'm 5 minutes late picking up to daycare. Oh, there's that pile of laundry that I've been looking at for 3 days. Oh, the kitchen's a mess. Oh, we have to go to soccer practice. Oh, that like all of those things piling up turn your cortisol and your adrenaline on so that they're kind of at an elevated level all the time.
Well, really, they were meant for like big things. They're meant to protect us, like if there is a bear coming to get us. But what happens is they're kind of pumping all the time. Right?
Yeah, there's never any rest. And as a mom, there's never any rest. And so eventually, and this is different for everyone, but the adrenal glands after, some people it's a few months, some people it's a few years, some people can last their entire life with being asked to make these extra stress hormones. But then if you're like me, all of a sudden they get tired and they're like, you know what? I give up. Like I've been pumping out all these extra stress hormones for so long that I can't do it anymore. And then they go to what's called adrenal fatigue. And that's where your body naturally, like your stress hormones naturally will be elevated in the morning when you wake up, and then they slowly decline through the day. And by the end of the night, your stress is at its lowest, so you can go to sleep. With adrenal fatigue, you maybe still have some adrenaline left. I mean, if you didn't have any adrenaline or cortisol, you would be dead. But it's pumping out so little for what your body is asking that it starts to cause weird symptoms like you feel tired all the time. I mean, who can't relate to that? But yet you're wired. You can't turn your mind off. And especially if this happens after like dinner time and it happens at night where you say, oh, I'm a night hawk. That is a true pattern of adrenal fatigue because, okay, it's down, down, down. And then all of a sudden, if you don't go to bed by 10 p.m., you get a second hormone rush. And then you're up until 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the morning.
Totally.
That's how that adrenal fatigue pattern goes. You maybe have a lot of head rushes when you stand up because your adrenals also help regulate your blood pressure with your kidneys. You are craving a lot of carbs. You have that spare tire around your middle that even though you may have lost weight and you're losing it in your face and in your boobs and in your butt, you have this spare tire that will just not go away. That is caused by those stress hormones.
Well, I wish these women could raise their hands right now because honestly, like women who come to me, when I do more of the life coaching end of what I do, that is the most common problem is energy, and then that spare tire kind of thing, the muffin top.
Mhm.
And so a lot of women, after they have their babies, they can get back in their jeans. Overall they feel pretty good, but there's this last little thing around their bellies.
Yeah.
And I don't think many people make that connection that could be directly related to the stress.
Yes. And so when your stress hormones are all out of whack in your body, it can only give so much energy to helping balance these things. So first priority is your metabolism and your metabolic hormones. And those are the ones that keep you alive, keep your heart beating, keep you breathing, et cetera, et cetera. Second on the list is those stress hormones. So if you're using up all of your energy in your body trying to balance the stress hormones on top of keeping you alive, the last on the chain of priority is your sex hormones. So we all know that because we have a million things going on at a time and our kids need so much of us and we never let our stress hormones regulate themselves, there's not any energy left over for the sex hormones. And that's when you start getting the PMS, all of those, you start getting the mood swings, and then it starts affecting the liver, because the liver also helps to balance all the hormones. It helps to process them, along with detoxing all the pesticides, everything in our air, our not clean water. Like, we are just not only punishing ourselves with stress, but we're punishing ourselves with these toxins. So then you bring the liver in, and the liver helps to do all those things. And it's like the hardest working organ of the body. If your liver's not happy, chances are your digestion's not happy. And if your digestion's not happy, then you're going to start craving things that you shouldn't, because your body is deficient in nutrients. You're going to start craving probably magnesium, but you're not going to crave it in the form of nice leafy greens that it's in. You're going to crave it in chocolate, because chocolate also has stimulants, and your brain is so tired and so deficient of these feel-good chemicals that it's like, I can get magnesium and I can get a jolt of happiness. So I'm going to crave chocolate instead of nice, healthy other forms of, healthy iron and magnesium and everything that I need. So you get into that. You get into the fact that stress turns off your ability to do your digestion properly, because when you have that fight or flight response, it moves the blood away from your stomach. It moves it into your major muscles, because again, 10,000 years ago, and our brains haven't evolved fast enough to catch up with the fact that we live in a modern day society where we're not necessarily going to have strange animals chasing us, and we're not going to have any famine issues usually in North America. But it takes all of that digestive ability away. So you have where you're maybe eating great food, but if you're stressed out, you're not absorbing the food. And it all comes down to what you absorb. If you're not absorbing those great nutrients in there, you might as well just, not eat them in the first place. So it's kind of like the chicken or the egg. What do you work on first?
Well, so then another huge component of this, though, so I know that you help women with what they eat. That's a huge part of it, and probably the most important. The other thing, though, that you really have to do is try to create a more stress-free life. When I have 3 kids, when you have a 2-year-old, all these things, sometimes it's just really not possible. But for me, and I also know being a single mom now, self-care is the thing that really keeps me going. And self-care meaning just those little things you do, not just the way like you're talking about going to bed at 10 o'clock. That is self-care. Eating the leafy greens and in all the ways that Ashley can teach you to eat. That's self-care. What are other little sneaky things that you do for self-care? Because I know for me, it's just like little mini breaks, but it's when I'm starting to feel myself get spun up, I just kind of take a break.
Yeah. The one thing, and this is what Erin, has tried to help me with for so long, is getting into like regular mindfulness or meditation. I'm not great at like a formal meditation practice.
Right.
But what I have been doing is I just kind of did a mindfulness for moms course, and it was teaching me that mindfulness isn't about necessarily, sitting in a lotus position and holding your hands just so and breathing in and out for 30 minutes. It's about bringing awareness to what you're doing every day and what you're doing in every minute. And obviously, you're not going to necessarily be aware every minute of every day. But let's say I walk my son to daycare. I try to pay attention to the sounds around me. I try to pay attention to what the temperature is, because it's so easy to get caught up in your thoughts and like, what do I need to do today? Alex is in daycare. I have 7 hours. I need to get all this stuff done. But then I'll be walking with him and be like, do you hear crickets? What colors are the flowers? And it's easy for me to do that with a 2-year-old, because I really am trying to teach him like colors and sounds of things and names of animals. But that's something I had a kind of a breakdown on the weekend and kind of needed to go spend some time by myself. And I literally just, again, I had that escape feeling where I wanted to get away. So I went to, we live in very kind of flat country. We literally have like one hill in our city, and that was a former garbage dump. So now there's like a park around, it's not a garbage dump. I went up to the top of the hill, and I just felt like laying down on the grass. So I laid down, and I just closed my eyes, and I sat there, and I just focused on like first of all, I was kind of crying because I was just like, oh, I'm so overwhelmed with everything and just groceries, and, I'm doing all this business stuff. And I closed my eyes, and then when I opened my eyes, I was actually kind of underneath a tree, and I looked up, and I saw one red leaf that had started to change colors, and the rest of the tree was green. And I kind of sat there and I thought, and it was the first thing that came into my view when I, of this entire tree, one red leaf. And I was like, you know what? What other crap am I missing in my life? Because I'm not here. I'm like, my mind's all over there, and I'm not actually paying attention to what's happening in front of me. So that has been a big part of what I've been trying to do is when I'm with Alex, I try to just be with Alex, within reason. I'm not with him for 8 hours a day, neglecting everything else, but I try to turn the phone over so I'm not answering it. I'm trying to not answer emails while I'm taking care of him.
It's just being present.
Yeah, and if I am doing that, I actually try to just, if I am going to be answering emails, then I give myself a break for answering emails. I don't sit there and go, supposed to be with my child right now, and like, why am I not, like, why do I have Netflix on? I feel like such a failure as your mother. It's like, you know what? No, this isn't going to be forever. I have a busy time right now in my business, and I'm answering emails today. Tomorrow is a new day, and I hope that I have enough time that I don't do this tomorrow. And as long as I'm aware that I'm doing it, that has really helped me. Because then those thoughts and all those things that I feel I have to do in my mind going in a million, miles an hour kind of slows down. And I know I still have to do those things, but I'm not brooding on them, because brooding on them isn't going to help me actually do them.
Well, brooding is such a funny word, because I had a lot on my mind yesterday. So I went for a hike. And I would say the first 10 minutes of the hike, I was just so stuck in my head, just like, ruminating.
Like there's some days where you just can't get out of your head.
Well, then I got to the top of the mountain, kind of like you, and I looked around, and I was like, it was breathtaking. I'm going to post a picture. It was so beautiful because the moon was coming up, and it was a perfect half moon, and the sun was setting. And I could see Mount Shasta, which is this huge snow-covered mountain. And I was like, oh my gosh, look at what I've been missing. I had been looking at it, looking down at the ground, hiking, like, oh. And then I looked up, it was just like, wow. Well, I'm going to shift gears a little bit. So for those of you who don't know Ashley and me, I actually worked with Ashley for a good 6 months. I am her business coach, and I just think the world of her in that realm. And, what I realized with my business coach, and I think what she realized, is that working one-on-one is really, really important. And I know that you work one-on-one with clients. Mm-hmm. So what I was hoping that you could share, clearly you are extraordinarily well-versed and knowledgeable about the organ systems, how nutrition affects it, how stress affects it. But what kind of results have your clients experienced? Because I'd like to say that you have experienced great results working with me, and I would love to hear a few stories about what your clients have experienced working with you.
All right. Well, I'll pick a recent client because I worked with clients before being pregnant. But Erin was the one that got back with me with working like one-on-one. I was so tired, and she's like, I think you should just do a couple. So I started, and it's funny because I started attracting, I wanted to work with moms. And I didn't always work with moms a lot before. I was attracting a lot of menopausal women. So I got really good at balancing hormones in menopausal women. And it's the same techniques with moms. And I was like, God, I really hope I get a chance to work with some moms. And thankfully, I started attracting these moms to me. And I worked with this lovely girl, and we'll call her Sarah. It's kind of personal stuff I'm sharing. So in case there's anyone local or anyone who may know this girl. So her name's Sarah, and Sarah came to me because she really felt like it was time in her life. So she has 2 young boys. So I think they're around age, now they're probably about 13 and 11. And she was a single mom, living with, and she now is engaged. So that's amazing. And her ring is amazing. It's beautiful. But she was having major digestive issues, major like mind fog. Like we actually, I keep a progress chart for this. So let me pull it out. So I keep a progress chart with my clients because it's so easy to go through a program and you're like, yeah, I know I feel better than when I started, but you don't actually remember how crappy you felt. So like, here's a little, I don't think you can see her name from there. there's a progress chart. So we started in March and we actually just finished up in August. And like mental fog was an 8 on a scale of 1 to 10. Fatigue and weakness was a 9. Joint
so
pain.
9 being really bad. Like,
Yes.
not a lot.
So 10 would be like severe, everyday, life affecting things that are very, debilitating. Her PMS was a 7. Now, she had also been in a really bad car accident. That was a near-death car accident. So she has worked for years to get her physical abilities back up, but still has like joint pain and muscle pain. She still put it at a 7. So still after all these years of physiotherapy, rebuilding her body, she was very active before the accident. Like she just felt like her whole body had changed. And like when you have a baby, you just feel like this whole new body, you have to learn how to deal with it and within its limitations, which she obviously had more limitations than before the accident. So we worked for 6 months. And when I work with my one-on-one clients, we go through a series of steps that kind of goes deeper and deeper, because if I were to give my clients everything that I knew, kind of like this teleseminar, like people are just like, oh my God, like, I don't know where to start. What do I do? Like, I don't know, like, what do I start with first? So I take them through a series of steps, one for each month. And we do, the first month is just basic nutrition. It's literally, here's the chart of what you eat. Here are the recipes. I look at, when I'm one-on-one, I look at kind of if they're on any supplements. At that point, I look at tailoring that right away or having them maybe go off of them to see how much just nutrition can affect how they feel. Second month is advanced nutrition on how to eat things together, what to buy organic, what not to buy organic, because I'm not buying everything organic. Like it's not affordable for me to do that. It's not always available in my area. Then we went through with her, we did a colon cleanse, which is again, entirely food-based. We're not doing like shakes. We're not replacing food. It's real food that we don't live in a huge city. We live in a city of 50,000. It's not like we're in a 1 million person city with all of these amenities. So it's food that is available in our area. And if I can't find it at the grocery store, I'm not suggesting it to my clients. Then we get into liver work. And when we went into liver work, and that's where when we talked about before, how it's so related to the hormones, it's only really when we get to the liver step in step 4 where we really start to see changes in the hormones and the PMS and the mood issues. That's when we start to get deep enough to start affecting those issues. We go into step 5, which is always usually gut health and gut maintenance and rebalancing the gut, probiotics and bacteria in the gut, and making sure that we're supporting that going forward so that we don't get to where we were before. Mm-hmm. And then step 6 is always, fun stuff like, look how far you've come. I give them a copy of their progress chart to keep forever and ever. And of course they get like a binder filled with all this stuff so that they can do, if they want to go back and do a colon cleanse in 6 months, they can do one on their own because they have all the recipes, they have all the steps to do it, it's all written down. So by the time we finished working together, her stomach pain was a 0, her diarrhea was a 0, her fatigue and weakness, which is like number 1 what she came to see me for. Like I have people list priority-wise what they want help with, and fatigue was number 1. It went from a 9 to a 2, which was like fantastic. Her mental fog went from an 8 to a 1. So in 6 months down.
That's amazing. Mental fog, like what woman doesn't have a little mental fog? Like I think about every day I go to work and it's like, all I want is to sit down and have like these clear, sharp thoughts and like boom, boom, boom. And some days I have it. And some days I just don't.
That's a lot related to the health of your gut, because your gut makes the majority of the serotonin in your body. That's the feel-good chemical. When your serotonin's not working, that's where you have issues with digestion, sleep, clear thoughts, libido. Like it all truly is connected. Like
libido, what a huge thing. Like that is another one. Like I bet if I sat down with a big table of my girlfriends who are all mothers, we're sitting there having a glass of wine, talking about what we struggle with. They all, the ones who are married, they all want to have a better libido. Like they want to please their husbands. They want to have that intimacy. And they're like, oh, I'm just so tired. I just don't, so many of us, they just don't feel like it.
Yeah, like you want to at the beginning of the day. And then by the time you get to the end of the day, when you're actually more realistic to actually have sex, you're like, oh my God, like, I don't even want to go. Like tomorrow, honey, tomorrow. Tomorrow comes and goes.
Well, and morning sex is kind of a luxury for most people because a lot of times we have kids that will like just, as once they can get, if they're not in a crib anymore,
Yep.
I don't know if you're there yet, Ashley, but
Not yet. He's staying in a crib for as long as possible.
well, what happens is they don't just stay in their beds. They hop out, and they just come on in and crawl into bed and say good morning, unless you're out already. So, gosh, this is so interesting. You know, I know that I could benefit from this myself so tremendously. And I eat very well. I feel like I eat very well, but I don't understand the interactions between hormones in the liver and hormones and in the gut health and how it all works together. And I'm just so fascinated by it. And I know that women would all benefit from having one-on-ones with you, but I know that you don't have that many time slots open. And I know a lot of women out there don't have maybe the finances to work one-on-one with somebody like you for an extended period of time. And they just also might be too busy, but they still want all the information. They want to learn. They want to know all the stuff like I do. Is there another option? I mean, I know that you're creating some things where women can work with you in another way.
Yes, and I've been working for like 4 months. So this has been an idea in my head for years, because once I started working one-on-one and I was seeing that the program was working, I was like, oh my God, like I really want this to help more people. Because at that time, when I initially came up with that idea, I was only working on my practice 1 day a week, and I had a regular job 4 days a week. And this was before having Alex. And then of course, after Alex, it's like, I can't just work as much on my own business as I want to. I didn't go back to my other job, but I now have a baby, and I'm more exhausted than I was before. So I can't, just keep working for 5 hours at night after Alex goes to bed. For my adrenal health and my hormone health, I need to go to bed early. So I, in the last 4 months, have formally put together a program called Mama Mojo. So it is the exact 6-month program I do with my clients, and I condensed it into 8 weeks, because I know that, there's extra time in there, because I leave my clients to kind of I give them the recipes, but I don't lay it out like, today you're going to do this, tomorrow you're going to do this, here's your meal plans for the month. Because for me to make that many meal plans would be I couldn't do it for 6 months. But I know that for moms to be able to do this, I wanted to kind of be the helper, where it's I know I want you to eat these foods to coincide with these steps, but I know you don't have time to put together these coordinated meal plans. So I did that. So each week there's a meal plan and a grocery list to go and coincide with that specific step we're working on that week. So for the liver cleanse, it's split into 2 weeks, because there's actually phase 1 and phase 2 liver cleanse. Or liver detox. Phase 1 is for the things that are bad but not that bad, and then phase 2 is for the stuff that's really, really bad. But what most people don't know is, after things are done going through phase 1, if they're the really bad things that weren't totally detoxed, they actually turn into temporarily worse toxins for your body before they go through phase 2 liver detox. So I split it into 2 weeks, and that's where we're really going to get, within 6 weeks, we should have improvement within the hormones, because in all my other clients, once we got to the liver detox, that all starts clearing up. So I gave you, but there's also different foods that support liver phase 1 versus liver phase 2. So I put the recipes in there that are family-friendly recipes. They're not like these crazy foods that you've never heard of or that are expensive, but I've made the meal plan so that it already is supporting that. So if you weren't even to watch the videos or read the workbook that goes along with it, if you were to just follow the meal plan, you should get just as many benefits as someone who is actually reading everything else. It's kind of no brainer. So
you can either take the initiative to learn the scientific information behind it, which I would be very curious to do, or you can just follow the meal plan and you're being guided through it without even. Most women want to take control of their health, though, and they want to understand, at least on some level.
So there's videos each week. Normally when I see my clients, I spend an hour with them and I explain everything we're doing that month and why we're doing it. So what I did is I recorded a 30-minute video where I talk about exactly what I would talk about if a client was here in my office for an hour. I condensed it because I gave you a workbook as well. So just like my regular clients normally end by the end of the 6 months with a workbook, I made a workbook for every week. So there's the steps of what you'll need. There's the steps of what I talk about in the video, but in written form, because some people learn by watching and listening, and some people learn by reading. So I provided both. And
so you sort of cloned yourself. I mean, really?
I did. And this is where my OCD, organizational skills are actually being used to my benefit. Woohoo! So yeah, every week you get what to eat, if you know, are having time, like not enough time that week, what to prioritize your time on. So there's a homework list of, okay, you know, worst case scenario, just focus on this, this, and this. Don't need to even read the rest of it. It's kind of like a PS in the email, like, PS, if you have no time, just look at this. And a suggested like meal structure and all the recipes and everything is in there.
So, I mean, really, this is like, if I were to sign up to do that 6-month program with you, with the one-on-one and all of this hand-holding, I guess, how much would that 6-month entire thing cost?
So that, because you're in the States, you don't have Canadian tax. So for you, it would be $1,769. For other people in Canada, where I have to charge tax, it works out to an even $2,000. So $2,000 for me. I'm expensive, but I am worth it.
Yes. To feel good, to know that your liver is detoxed and that your body is functioning the way it should, and to save your adrenal glands. You know, I really worry about adrenal fatigue in so many women. Like the caffeine, you know, a sign of adrenal fatigue is, you know, you have this much coffee, this much coffee, this much coffee, and you still don't have a boost. That's where I am right now.
Yeah.
And I know so many women who are there.
Yeah, or you have the caffeine, and if you're in complete adrenal fatigue, the caffeine will actually have an adverse effect. Like for me, I can't have caffeine because it makes me so jittery, like right away. So it's kind of like one or the other. If you're on opposite ends of the spectrum, you still need help with your adrenals, either way.
I think all women, you know, just the way that our lives are, it's very stressful. You know, I feel like this is so powerful and so important. I wish I was extraordinarily wealthy so I could just gift this course to everybody I love. And I'm not kidding.
I wish I could just give it away, but like, hello, I have a baby that needs new shoes because he's wearing, so like, I can't, and also I've had people before where we've worked together and maybe they've won something in, you know, I've given something away in a local trade show. And whenever I do something for free, they don't get as many benefits. Like, I want the women that are like, I need this and I'm willing to invest my energy, my time, and yes, my money, because that's just an exchange of energy. It's a form of energy that we exchange. And so it's that commitment that you've made to yourself that, like, okay, I'm ready to do this. And if that 8-week time frame does not fit into your schedule, or you have a week that goes kaput, you have access to the information forever. So you can go back and do it in January if you want kind of a quick pickup in January as like your, you know, New Year's resolution. You can go back and print out the meal plans again and go through it again and keep watching it as long as you need to. And there's a private Facebook group too. So any questions? So it's kind of like you're the closest to doing one-on-one with me without actually having to pay for doing one-on-one with me. So I'll be in the private group. We're going to have 2 live calls, and I'm going to leave that open until just before we start the program. I'm going to email everyone and say, when do you guys want the calls? Do you want one in the middle, one at the end? Do you want one closer to the beginning to help get you off on the right foot? Like, when the majority is going to rule, when do you guys want these calls? Because I want them to be most helpful for you.
So basically, women are going to get the meal plans. They're going to get these amazing almost that teach them all these different ways that their bodies are being affected by what they're eating and the stress on their body. And I mean, and then you're including access to you in a couple of different ways. I mean, this seems so incredibly valuable. So I have to ask, I honestly don't know, how much is the 8-week program?
So it is one-time payment of $497 or 3 payments of $170. And
so basically, it's 1/4 of the price of working with you, and you get pretty much everything.
Yeah, and there's also, I'm going to be doing some interviews with expert friends, naturopath friend, a personal trainer friend who, like, I'm the worst at working out. She is a mom of 4 girls under the age of 7, and she has lost a crazy amount of weight. Like, this girl is the most beautiful, healthy, glowing, and she's done this like with 4 kids, which I think is insane. So I'm going to be having a call with her, and I'm going to be running this every 6 months. So every 6 months, because it's going to be different seasons, I'm going to be updating the meal plans and the recipes. So technically, you're getting 16 weeks of meal plans for every year. So that works out to like 3 months of every 12 months of the year. You'll have your meal plans and your grocery list already done for you. That's the goal.
I mean, this just sounds astronomical. I mean, it's like a no-brainer to me. I know I've already said that, but it's like, wow, to go from feeling tired all the time and not being able to fully engage to feeling clear-minded, focused, more joyful, and to have the capacity to start dreaming bigger. You know, that's kind of where my passion comes into play. Like, I love helping women dream bigger and think bigger for themselves. And to be honest, when you don't feel well, when your baseline energy levels and your ability to think clearly aren't there, you can't really launch yourself to that next level. You can't get excited about doing something big because you can't even, like, just getting through your day and being a decent mom.
There's no space.
Together. There's no space. So, well, I mean, I encourage people to just take a look at this program. I am definitely going to be taking this program. There's without a doubt. And I feel so strongly about it that I'm going to throw in a free gift for anybody who signs up today or through this online class. I'm going to throw in one of my week-long meal plans for Love Your Body, which is a class that I haven't launched for a while now, so nobody really has access to them right now. And so, you know, when you're done with Ashley's 8-week class and you're going back to, you know, your liver's cleansed, you're feeling really good and you've learned so much, I think my meal plan would be a great addition to just have another week of really healthy meals to help you kind of keep the momentum going.
Yeah, well, because it's ending in December, then you get into craziness of holidays, and if they can have more prep time, like, done for them, they don't have to spend the time doing all the organizing. So I'll throw in one too. So I have Supper Time Sanity, which Erin,
is awesome.
which you helped me launch. That was like the first little kind of online foray. And it's 5 dinners, again, grocery list, meal plan, or recipe. So I'll throw that one in 2 weeks. Then that'll take you all the way to Christmas. And then you're good.
I think that is phenomenal. And, you know, I just want to go back to how important I think this is. I see so many women struggling with feeling good, feeling energized, and I want nothing more than for moms to be able to fully realize their potential, live their dreams, be incredible moms, you know? When I don't feel well, when I am just drained, it is hard for me to keep up with my 2, 4, and 7-year-old. I literally, you know, it's like, you know, they just want you to keep playing and doing things. And then I find myself making, you know, some crappy dinner because it's easy. And then I don't feel like a good mom at the end of the day. I want to feel like a good mom. And I really think that like feeling amazing is the first step that trickles over into everything else. Now, just a quick, I mean, we are running out of time here, but so think about how you felt when your adrenals were fatigued, when your hormones were all out of whack, versus how you feel now. And, you know, I have to say, like, you have got all these strategies in place now. You've got the self-care strategies. You've got all this knowledge about how to eat well and how to, when you feel things getting off track, you know what to do. And will women that take the course have that knowledge too? But first of all, I want to know, how would you compare that? How would you compare how you feel now to how you felt back then? I mean,
well, when I was in the throes of adrenal fatigue and everything, I knew that I had to be more positive. Like, you're kind of like, I need to be more positive. But I just couldn't. I literally was a switch in my brain that would not turn on. And so, yes, part of it, I think that the part that saved my life was the medication. But even now, being on the medication, if I don't do the self-care, I go right back to the panic attacks. Like, I feel the chest tight, I feel the tension in my neck, I feel all that. And so I know that I have good days where I'm taking care of myself, and I feel like, you know, Alex is here, and I look at him and I feel like, I literally feel this joy that you feel like you're supposed to feel when you have kids. You feel like they're supposed to come into your life, and you're just like, you know, it's kind of like Lion King, like, oh, you're holding them up, it's amazing. I didn't have the space to feel that when I was feeling happy. Like, of course, I loved my child. I would do anything for him, but I never had those moments of pure joy where it's just like it's, you feel it in your soul where you're just like, oh my God, this is what it feels like to be happy. Like, this is what it feels like to pay attention to these people that I love and to have the space because I'm not worrying about how upset my stomach is and how I just can't be happy. Like, it just started happening. And slowly but surely I was like, wow, look, sun is out. There's no clouds in the sky. Like, I never would have said that a year ago. It was just like another day. Same routine every day because the routine never changes with taking care of Alex. I just feel like the entire cloud was lifted from my life. And I just like, even though we went through the happiest time possible, I would not change it for anything. Because I wouldn't.
It's what I can say that every one of my biggest, deepest, darkest struggles and hard times has been what's launched me to something so much bigger and better. And you wouldn't, I mean, unless you know what it feels like to feel joyless, energyless, life sucked out of you, you know, then after 8 weeks of doing this program, you'll be like, oh my gosh, it's like somebody turned the lights on. I love that analogy because all of a sudden you can think, you can focus.
You can tell yourself to find the energy and to feel happier every day. But if physiologically and clinical-wise in your body, you're not supporting that, you can try all you might, but it's not going to happen. Because it's just not. You have all the cards stacked against you. You have to support yourself physically first so that the emotions and the space and the happiness can come after and it will.
Well, you know, I just want to close by saying I know how much I love the women I work with. I mean, I love Ashley. And I love every one of my clients, like truly and deeply. And I know that Ashley has the same deep passion for her clients and deep desire to have them truly feel better like she does. And I know that everything she's put into this course, Mama Mojo, is based on wanting you to have that joy. And I know that nothing makes her more happy than seeing women go from, you know, 9s to 0s or 7s to 2s, you know, seeing that measurable improvement. So Ashley's proven she can do amazing things with women. And so I just can't recommend this highly enough. And if anybody has questions about how to sign up, get a hold of me, get a hold of Ashley. We'll make sure that you can have access to getting involved. Now, is there a deadline? Is there a timeline here, Ashley?
Well, so there is an early bird little kind of gift. So by tomorrow, I guess tomorrow is October 3rd. By tomorrow, October 3rd at midnight, if you sign up, then you're going to get entered into a draw to have a 90-minute one-on-one session with me. And you can choose whether that's, again, the beginning, middle, end of the program, whenever you feel the most support. And you're also going to get, this is my favorite because I get to go shopping. I'm going to pick out a box of goodies. So I already have a couple things picked out, but things that I know will support you during this 8 weeks, things that maybe are in the plan, or little treats that you just would never buy yourself. The things that you're like, oh, I really wish I could have that, but there's something else I need to buy, or there's just something gets in the way. So little fun things that I'm gonna wait till whoever wins the draw. I'm gonna kind of send them an email with some questions to learn what they like. Yeah.
Well, that sounds like too good to be true. I've never heard of that kind of gift. I love it. I want to win that too.
Yeah. So that's the box. So October 3rd, tomorrow at midnight. If you sign up by then, you will get to win that. But the deadline for the program and starting and the closing is October 9th at midnight. And the program starts October 10th.
October 10th. October 10th is kind of a big day. All right.
It's my wedding anniversary.
Well, ooh, that's a very big day.
Yeah.
Oh, well, you'll have a lot to celebrate. 5 years, half a decade.
Yeah.
I think you're going to have a ton to celebrate, my dear. So, well, thank you all who have joined us live, and for all of those who are going to listen to this at the luxury of their own schedule. It's been just such a pleasure, as I knew it would be. And I'm just going to close by saying I cannot recommend this woman and her, just the way she interacts with you, the way she will love you and coach you, in addition to this amazing technical background where she offers the best of both worlds. So there's absolutely no reason why you should not participate in this life-changing course.
I agree. And I love Erin too. She's the best.
Aww. Well, thank you all. And we'll see you on October 10th in class, right?